Okay, so in the beginning there was basically nothing, except for YouTube and Vita, or Vlog Every Day in April. A bunch of different people that all met on your pants or on YouTube, some people who never even knew each other, decided to call themselves Team Vita, and their figurehead sort of leader was Kate, or Katie Matthews. Remember her? She's a reoccurring character. One of the other members of this team was James. Towards the end of Vita, April 27th to be exact, James made a video called The Different Levels of YouTube, on which he expressed interest in making a collaboration channel with myself and Spencer. I confirmed interest on this video, but Spencer did not. On the very last day of Vita, however, James made another video called The Future of Talent Hatter. In the comments of this video, Spencer confirmed his interest, and Katie decided that she also wanted in on the project, and the rest of us accepted her into the group. On May 1st, James made a Facebook group so that we could all talk about our ideas for the collab channel. We decided on a Monday through Thursday schedule, with Friday James brought up being Challenge Friday. That same day, Katie brought up an idea for the name of the collab channel. She suggested Cross 49, because we were to cross the 49th parallel, the parallel that divides the United States, where two of our members resided, and Canada, where the other two reside. However, that name was already taken, so we decided to settle on Across the 49th. On the following 3 days, we decided on the order in which we would make videos for the channel. Because it was James's idea, we decided that he should be the leader and take Mondays. Spencer then followed him on Tuesdays, myself on Wednesdays, and Katie bringing up the rear on Thursdays, and of course, Challenge Friday. On the 5th and 6th, we decided to flesh out the channel page to make it more interesting to the eye. On the 5th, I made an avatar, which you can see here, which has since been replaced by our lovely Kate. And on the 6th, Katie created the channel layout, displaying our lovely Canadian and American colors. May 6th was also the day that we finally decided on what we would talk about on our first week. We decided to change things up a little bit for intro week, and instead of talking about things that we liked, we talked about things that we disliked, and to counterbalance things that we loved. And so the channel was born and organized, and we had cycles in which we followed 4-week cycles to be exact, during which each person will make one Challenge Friday video. Since its inception, Across 49th has completed 3 cycles, and we are currently almost ending our 4th. Each of the cycles and their themes per week are as follows. Week 1 of cycle 1 was of course the things that we dislike and the things that we love, in order to introduce ourselves to our viewers. We also realized this week that our name was actually kind of ironic, because we did not in fact cross the 49th parallel. Each of us lives south of that parallel. The week was summed up by our first challenge video, Spinny Chair James. During week 2, we miraculously pulled out an interesting topic. Thanks to James, we talked about girliness and gender norms. And of course, we planned on moving the 49th parallel, or the countries themselves, such that our name was no longer ironic. This week was concluded by Ice Cube Spencer, in which he tried to talk to us with 2 ice cubes lodged in his cheeks. During this Ice Cube challenge, Spencer mentioned a challenge in which one of the guys would wear a dress, and has spawned a Jeff in a Dress challenge craze. This would not be completed for quite a while. On week 3, we continued talking about gender norms and gender issues, and we talked about a little bit about driving laws in our specific areas. I also danced for the channel for Internet Prom for our friend Melanie. This was the first and hopefully last time that I danced on the channel. This week was summed up by my first challenge, which was to take song lyrics and turn them into a short story. The first cycle was ended with week 4, in which we talked a little bit more about driving and alcohol while driving, and we also talked about law differences between Canada and the US, as well as spelling differences on words like gray, which by the way is definitely spelled with an E, and Katie introduced our sort of mascot for the channel, which was a squirrel. She summed up her week with an impressive challenge of summarizing Doctor Who Series 5 in under 5 minutes. Cycle 2 was started in week 5, in which we talked about internet friends and the difficulties of talking online and communicating both text forms and in emotes. We also talked a little bit about using alcohol in moderation. James summed up this week with one of our favorite challenges thus far, which was Ice Pants James. To many people's surprise, week 5 was actually concluded on a Saturday, where Spencer asked for challenge ideas for his next week. This was the first time and still the only time that anybody has ever posted on Saturday on Across the 49th. Week 6 was probably one of the most interesting and terrifying weeks yet, but not because of the conversation at hand. Week 6 we talked about relationships, starting the week off with an 8-minute long video by James, which by the way was fantastic despite its length. Our friend Kate boosted our subscriptions by nearly 5 to 6 times by using a YouTube tag game. We do still have to tag people for this tag game, and we have not forgotten. This week was summed up with one of my personal favorite Spencer challenges, which was to create dinosaur versions of each of the collab members, and of course our good friend Kate. This spawned a sort of meme, Dino Jeff. On week 7, we noticed that a lot of people were agreeing with us in the comments, even when we said many different things in our videos, and so we promoted disagreement, and we also talked a bit about expectations. This week was ended by, of course, the legendary Jeff in a Dress, which has since been removed and is still the only challenge on this channel that has ever been removed, and is no longer available to watch. Our second 4-week cycle was ended on week 8, in which we talked about schools and school systems and what we liked and disliked about them, as well as was a sort of week of 3 Katies. She made a video on Thursday and Friday, but also a video the next Monday. Her challenge on Friday was ask people at a Canada Day celebration what DFTBA meant. Our third cycle started on week 9 with Katie making a video on Monday, the first change in schedule that we've ever had. This week, because of Canada Day and the 4th of July, we talked about national pride and national identity. On Thursday, James made the first of his 3 videos, starting off with an angry vlog. Probably the most emotional vlog that we've had on this channel yet. His second of 3 videos summed up that week with possibly my favorite challenge of all time, telling a story while juggling apples and eating them at the same time. That, my friends, is impressive. On week 10, finally in the double digits, we talked about liking and disliking things, perhaps on principle, perhaps not. A little bit about words, and a little bit about meaning what you say, and sometimes meaning other things than what you say. This week was finished off by Spencer, who did his duct tape Spencer challenge. On week 11, we started talking about literalism, meaning and taking things that people say literally. We also talked more on liking and disliking things on principle and identifying yourself based on things or ideas. And we began a conversation about language and its complexities. That week was topped off with my last challenge, which was to act out a Skype conversation in which we tried to plan out what challenge I would take. Finishing off cycle 3 with week 12, we talked about perception and perceiving things differently than those people around us. We also talked about having a complex language and what it would mean to have a much simpler language. And Katie and I planned a Canadian takeover of the channel as the two boys were off at VidCon. Our third cycle was finished off with not one but two videos. The first being Mummy Katie, the last challenge of cycle 3, and the second being the first time the two Across the 49ers have ever met in real life, the two boys at VidCon. Week 13, our two VidCon attendees were very tired and decided to talk about ideas and epiphanies, and Katie and I continued that conversation talking about the brain, trains of thought, and cellular memory. James brought out his creative side for the last challenge, blindfolded painting. On week 14, James started out the week talking about drunk people and consciousness, two things that are very unrelated, as well as showing us a picture of a nerve cell in the universe and how they were very, very similar. This spawned some similar conversation throughout the week, as well as conversation about justifying things that you possibly can't justify, such as emotions. Spencer's last challenge, topping off week 14, was to put on as many articles of clothing as he possibly could. And ending off the summary is week 15, this week. We talked about change and progression and what we had in store for the future, not only for us, but also for our channel. And of course, the challenge is this. So thanks guys for sticking with us these past 15 weeks, and here's to many more 15-week periods ahead. James, I'll see you on Monday. The first being... And we decided... Oh god.